What's going on, everyone? So, we got the first chapter one of The Strangers, which is supposed to be the beginning of a three-part. Supposed to begin chapter two later this year, sometime in the fall. Then we're supposed to get chapter three next year, which part one or chapter one did not do a very good job, right? A lot of people, the consensus kind of seems to be that that movie was terrible. And the consensus kind of seems to be that, hey, this was just a carbon copy of what you did prior. Like, why not just do a continuation, right? You see so many just franchises, horror franchises, doing the kind of the requels, right? Where they just can kind of continue the story from the original, right? So it's like you could have done a three-part Strangers, like chapter 2, 3, and 4, rather than what you did and just kind of remaking chapter 1. And it's like, okay, can you give us something new, right? And a lot of people are disappointed. Now, look, there's some people that really did enjoy it and thought it was better than the original, right? And for those that did, hey, that's great. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Personally, just again, I am kind of with the consensus here. I think that they should have, done a different kind of just took it in a different direction. Like, you could have kept similar elements, right? You could have kept kind of like the original premise the same, but like tell us a different story rather than just the same old what we already saw, right? Because then that feels like this was just a waste of a movie. You should have just came out with part two, right? Like I said, you should have just done chapter 2, 3, and 4. Kind of let Pray at Night kind of be its own thing. But instead, they were like, hey, we're just going to kind of remake that other one. But nonetheless, the idea and the hope is, at least, is that, and kind of the promise in a lot of ways, is that, like, hey, yes, part one was just to kind of, rehash and hit home kind of the story and direction we're going, right? We know you got the previous movie already, but hey, we just wanted to give you a little refresher, right? Part one or chapter one, it was the refresher course. That's what it was. It's just, you gotta kind of just get it back in your memory, right? And then now part 2 and 3, those are the ones that are really going to deliver. Those are the things that are really going to hit home. Those are the ones that you're going to go, yes, now we're back in business, right? Excellent Stranger movies. And look, I hope that that's the case. I'm always hopeful that we get some good quality horror films. I was a huge fan of the first two Strangers. I know a lot of people really like Pray at Night more. I really did like. I understand that the original Strangers was just like a slow burn for a lot of people, but I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was very well done. One of my favorite lines ever in horror is from the original Strangers, and I quote it all the time, right? Like I love horror films that you can put yourself in, that you can see happening in real life, right? Like, it's not some supernatural entity. It's not some haunted house. It's not something that's crazy and bizarre. It's something that is like, hey, it's just crazy people, right? Because crazy people exist and are in this world, right? And that's one of the things that I loved about the original Strangers. And one of my favorite lines is like, why are you doing this? Because you were home. Like, that's terrifying. There's no real rhyme, reason. It's just, you can't explain crazy. They're just crazy, right? But we got our first look into chapter 2. It's nothing like groundbreaking, but we got this image. Again, I am very hopeful for chapter 2. I want chapter 2 to hit and deliver and to, kind of give us something, I don't know, something new that take this in a different direction, right? I don't want to. I'm trying to be careful because I don't want to accidentally spoil stuff because I know some people probably still haven't seen it yet, but I would like to. There's a lot of things that I thought that they kind of hinted at in chapter 1 that I think that they could really use to establish as like kind of a springboard to kind of take this in a different direction, particularly with because this was in the trailer, like with the whole church and that whole setup. But ultimately, again, like hopefully this, because my problem is that they keep just falling into this trap, right? They keep putting the cart before the horse in a lot of ways, and they keep kind of making these unnecessary films, right? Like you saw it with like Exorcist the Believer. It's just like, I'm all for you if you want to continue a story, right? Like I want more originality. I've talked about it, I've harped on it a little bit, but okay, fine. You want to continue an already established, already made story, then fine, let's do it. But continue it. Tell a good, convincing story, or go an entirely new direction, right? Like even when the Strangers and this trilogy was set and it was originally announced, right before we knew that this was just going to kind of like chapter one was just going to be a rehash of the original, and then they were going to do parts, right? Like I talked about it here, even here on the channel, of like, no, hey, like this is a real opportunity to maybe tell a unique story with the Strangers and kind of keep like almost you could do almost an anthology thing if you wanted to, right? Or have a new family or a new kind of reason, right? Like again, like if you saw Prey at Night, it would have been a little hard to continue off of that, but I think you could have definitely continued off of the original if you wanted to, and just kind of had Prey at Night be its own thing, or just again tell another story fresh and just start a new Strangers chapter, right? Like, and have like again like almost like this anthology with this crazy family that's just knocking on doors asking if Tamara's there, right? Like you I just it just was disappointing because it's something like I enjoyed the first two films. I thought that they were you know kind of getting back to just a quality slasher, really is what it was, in that home invasion style film, right? That I thought really at times did a good job of keeping you on your seat and kept things going, right? Again, I understand the original was a lot slower, and people were a bit disappointed with just kind of the pacing of that first one, but I don't mind a drawn out film if it kind of serves the purpose and kind of keeps things on edge. Now, would I have liked it to maybe be a little faster paced, kind of get to the point a little sooner? Yeah, sure. But I'm also okay with, taking the time to establish and build characters to get us to kind of feel for them, right? Like how many times do we see horror movies and it's just like, here's the characters. Oh, look, they're wearing glasses and holding books. He's clearly the nerd, right? And it's just like, you don't get any development. You don't get any real dialogue. You don't get any, and then like they die and we're supposed to care. And it's like, I don't even know who these people are. I don't even know, like, why do I care that this person just died? Right? Like, like where, no, like Scream as a great example, right? Like, one of the things that I've talked about, like the classic Scream was a masterclass of how you properly grow and develop characters, how you build the story, how you maintain pace. I mean, that was about as close to a perfect movie in general. Not even a horror film, just a movie, period. As far as, like beginning, middle, end, story that keeps you engaged, keeps you entertained, characters that you fall in love with. I mean, we love these characters so much that people want them to come back. People are coming up with theories and ideas on how Tatum can survive or might have survived, or, Stu's the big one, right? That everyone wants to see come back and stuff, right? Like, and, but you look at like Scream 5 and 6. I thought 6 did a better job, but particularly 5, I thought just it didn't really do great at building character, right? It's like, so much so people couldn't stand Sam, right? Who was supposed to be your main character. She was supposed to be your final girl that you're building the franchise on. And people were like, get rid of her, right? Because you failed to properly develop these guys. Like when characters are dying in Scream 5, like we don't care. It's like, you didn't get to really build these characters. You didn't really get to know these characters. But, like when Tatum dies and, you see even like, even like Henry Winkler, right? Like when he dies, like all of these characters that you see, it's like when they die, you feel it. It bothers you. It's like, oh man, I really liked him, or I really liked that, or you want to see them die, right? You're like, man, like good. I'm glad. Like that guy was a little weird, or whatever, right? Like that's what you want to build, and they did a great job of doing that. Just kind of through dialogue was a lot of how it is. You very rarely see characters kind of just being alone, right? You very rarely see characters just kind of doing their own thing. It's always characters that are in a room together, or they're setting a scene together, or they're whatever, right? Like that is how you easily build characters and tell story, right? Like that's how you can really kind of hit home and get people to fall in love with these characters. And so I'm okay with the slow burn. I'm okay with you building and taking time to take or build pace. Mr. Hembry, that sorry, I blanked on his name earlier. Henry Winkler's character in Scree. I like blanked on it for a minute, but yeah, it just popped in my head. Sorry, I know that was kind of random, but Henry Winkler's character, Principal Hembry. But point is like I hope that they do a better job of really kind of hitting home and using these 3 parts to really build story and character and have us kind of fall in love with the direction they're going, because they didn't do a great job in the beginning. They didn't do a great job of establishing what I believe that they wanted to establish, and I think that they really kind of missed their mark. And it's like, and again, first impressions are everything. They are. First impressions are everything, and when you fail to deliver on that first impression, it's really hard to re-impress on the second go around. And I mean, that's just everything. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. Again, I'm hopeful. I want a good movie. I want a good film, right? Like I'm hoping that these next 2 are just home run, grand slam, knock it out of the park type films. But we'll see. Time will tell. Anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Are you excited? Are you not? Are you going to give part 2 and 3 a chance, or do you kind of like, part 1 kind of ruined it for me, or chapter 1? I don't know why I keep saying part 1, but anyway, again, ever feel whatever your thoughts are? Love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. It's me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel. What are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.